The mizzen, topmast and top gallant yards. The parts for both these yards are supplied with this stage. However, the assembly is similar to previous yards and the basic techniques were more fully described in stage 65. So refer to stage 65 for the completion of the yards. Assembling the booms. Victory has two booms, a horizontal driver boom and an angled gaff boom. You will need the boom parts supplied with stage 77 as well as those supplied with this stage. Start with the driver boom, which is the longer of the two booms. Mark the start of the taper using the plans. Taper the boom to 3mm at the opposite end, then cut it to length. Now carve the thin end to the boom. Take the two laser cut boom jaws and round off the outside edges, then glue the parts to the end of the taper. Taper off the projecting corners of the end of the boom above and below the boom jaws. Add the shallow U-shaped bracket to the top of the boom for ease of rigging later on. Place this bracket about 30mm from its indicated position at a distance of 115mm from the end of the boom. Hold the boom with the boom jaws flat to the work surface and drill two 1mm holes vertically down through the boom about 3 and 6mm from the end. Heat steps 1 to 6 to construct the gaff boom in the same way as the driver boom. Stain the booms dark oak or paint them black to suit the finish you have chosen. Making the poop deck pin rail. This goes behind the mizzen. You need the laser cut legs and metal belaying pins supplied with stage 66. Start off by cutting a 66mm length of 2x3mm wood and round the ends. Mark the centre, then make 8 marks, each 3mm apart. Drive 7 1.5mm holes in the central marks. The 2 outermost marks are the positions of the legs. Glue the 2 legs so that the inside of each leg aligns with the outmost marks made in step 1. Stain the pin rail walnut or paint it black. Now glue the pin rail centrally to the deck, leaving a 10mm space between the skylight and the back of the pin rail. Fitting rigging mountings. The die-cast cleats and other mountings for the rigging on the poop deck were supplied with stage 66. Carefully follow instructions on page 457, steps 1 to 5 on fitting these mountings. Making the mizzenmast collar. Assemble the ring that fits around the base of the mizzenmast. The parts were supplied with stage 66. Sand or file the inside of the 3 rings until they are an easy fit on the mizzenmast. Glue them together and allow to dry, then check that the collar still slides easily on the mast. You can sand off or file the inside if it's a tight fit. Sand the collar to a taper, start with medium sandpaper and finish off with a finer grade. Stain the collar walnut or paint it black as appropriate. Do not glue the collar in place yet. Completing the mizzen mast. You can now assemble and rig the three sections of the mizzen mast. You will need the 1.5mm square wood from this stage and the remaining parts from stages 78 and 79. Add 8 lengths of 1.5mm square wood to the square section of the mizzen lower mast and add a further 16 small spaces. This is similar to the construction of the main and foremasts, although the wooden strips are thinner. Stain the mast cap walnut or paint it black as appropriate, then add the 4 brass eyes. Note that you should space the eyes as close to the edge as possible, as the hand mast has to fit between the eyes. Bend the forward eyes out of an angle about 45 degrees and add 2 4mm single blocks to the central eyes. Dry fit the mast cap to the mast as in step 5 to measure the height of the hand mast. Construct the hand mast from 3mm dowel and 4mm square strip, leaving it slightly oversized to allow a small margin for fitting. Stage 63 explains the process in detail. Test assemble the mast and mast cap in order to construct the hand mast and check its fit, which should be slightly oversized, but do not glue together yet. Insert the mizzen topmast into the mast cap, but do not glue it yet. Cut a piece of brass wire about 12mm long and insert it through the bottom hole in the top mast. Dry fit the top mast to the lower mast and check that the two sections of mast are straight and parallel. When you are satisfied, glue the parts firmly together. Trim the hand mast to the exact side and glue it in place. Glue the two parts of the rope guide together and file 2 notches in the top, then glue the rope guide to the mast cap. Take the cross trees, top mast cap and top gallant mast and dry fit them together. You may need to trim the bottom of the top gallant mast so that it fits inside the cross trees. Cut a 10mm length of the 1.5mm brass wire to make the pin, which should rest on the cross trees. Once you are satisfied that the fit is correct and the top gallant mast is straight and parallel with the rest of the mast, glue the parts together. Prepare 2 5mm double blocks, 5 5mm single blocks and 10 4mm single blocks, leaving 80 to 90mm trails. Then carefully follow the instructions on page 459, steps 14 to 16. Fitting the gun port lids. The hinges are supplied over length so they can be cut to the exact size needed. A pair of needlework scissors is ideal, but don't use your best pair. Start with the gun ports under the gallery. Cut 4 pairs of hinges 1.5 holes long. Check against your model to gauge the exact length. Carefully turn the model on its side, making sure it is well protected and supported. Glue the hinges on the gallery gun ports lids as shown in your instructions. Then drill a 1.5mm holes above the forward and upper gun ports. They should be about 8mm above the top of the port, but they must be below the chain whale. Repeat the process and drill holes above the gun ports indicated by the arrows in your instructions on page 460. Cut a length of 2x10mm strip to about 10mm long and trim it so that it fits the gun port. Stain the port lid walnut on both sides and 3 of the 4 edges. The unstained edge will be glued to the top of the gun port. If you are painting your model, paint the outside black with the inside and 3 edges red ochre. Cut 2 hinges to length as shown and glue them to the port lid. The drill is a 1mm hole in through the last hole in the hinge. Place some glue onto a length of thread and let it dry. Apply a drop of glue to the end of the thread and push it into the hole into the planking and allow the glue to dry. Gently pull the thread back to pull it tight. Apply a drop of glue to the thread as you pull the last bit taut. The glue is drawn into the hole into the lid. Take some scrap of 2x5mm wood and cut a pair of doors to fit the second to last port on the top row of the stern. Stain these doors walnut or paint them black with the red edges. Glue these doors in place into the open position.